Let's see. Yeah, I've got um, three so far, all from uh, well, basically it's Charles Munger.
God,
The
I feel
goal is to
cheated.
make
I've only gotten
Republicans.
one.
Goal is to make Republicans redundant anyway.
Right. Looks like we have a quorum. Um, and I know it's a late time, so let's be cognizant of everybody's time and call the meeting to order. Do we have any guests this evening who wish to be recognized? If so, please raise your hand. Um,
Well, maybe she doesn't want to be recognized, but my neighbor is here and is a guest.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Paula number 6 in Vallejo or something like that. But I've been hearing about these meetings, and Paula's a good friend, and I just gonna sit in the background and learn. So thanks for having me.
well, thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
We do.
Okay. Do we have the land acknowledgement to pull up and display? All right. We pause to acknowledge that the Solano County Democratic Central Committee sits on the land of the Miwok and Patwin people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray in their traditional homeland. We offer our respects to their elders and the Miwok and Patwin people of the past and present. So I don't believe we have any new members or alternates to swear in, so we're good with that. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Um, did anyone have any additions, corrections, or deletions to make to the minutes?
Hmm.
I move that we approve the minutes.
This
Okay,
was
there's a
Lynette,
motion.
I second.
Paula in a second. Sounded like that was Karen.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah,
Lynette.
Lynette, I think
Annette,
Lynette. I think you heard
yes.
my voice a little bit though.
I saw a couple of different mics chiming, so I was guessing.
Mhm.
All right, so if we can go ahead and launch that poll then. Didn't vote early and often. Okay. Has everyone who's had a chance to vote vote? If not, get your votes in now or hold your peace. Okay. And we have 100% for approval of the minutes. Thank you all. Next item is the approval of tonight's agenda. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, or deletions for the agenda? Seeing no hands, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move approval?
Okay, moved by Jack Flynn. Is there a second?
Second by
I'll
Wiley.
second.
All right. We can go ahead and launch that poll. Again, vote early, vote often, vote left. And the agenda is approved. Thank you all. Next item is public comment for guests to the meeting. All comments are limited to 2 minutes. Additional time may not be granted. Total comment period cannot exceed 30 minutes. So any of our guests this evening wish to speak at this time, please raise your hand. Be recognized. I am not seeing any hands up. So we will go ahead and close public comment and move on to our treasurer's report.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to take a look at the treasurer's report for August, starting with our federal account. Our beginning balance on 7/22/2025 was $12,482.71. Our credits were an allocation transfer of $937.35 that we received from our state account. There was a return check that was uncashed for $105, and that was a check that we had written to cover our PO box that sat around for a long time, and so it was returned, and so that put money back into the treasury. We did have dues of $35 paid by Silva, which brought our total credits to $1,077.35. Now, taking a look at the debts out of the account, River City Business Services was $611.61. Our storage unit was $153.99, and we sent Nation Builder a check for $336 with a total debits of $1,101.60. And that brought our federal ending balance to $12,458.46. Now, taking a look at our state account, our contribution income, we had Hamilton at $50 for our contribution that we approved last time for the assembly contribution for the Labor Day event that's happening with the Labor Council. And then Brumfield was $5, a $5 contribution, which occurs every month, and then Hardwick at $10. So we had a total of $65 in credits, and then that brought our state account down to the $4,626.07 in terms of our credits. And then looking at the debts, Act Blue, we had merchant fees of $2.18. We did that allocation transfer to our federal account of $937.35. And then we had approved a memorial for Jan Day that we did for $100 sent to St. Jude's Hospital for that $100, bringing our state ending balance to $3,586.54. And then adding that state balance to our federal balance, it brought our total federal and state account to $16,045 even. And I'd just like to say too that there's a few members who have either forgotten or in all the things that have been happening, just didn't get a chance to get around to it. But we did send out notices for dues. And so if you would bring that up to date, we'd appreciate it. We need the money. We're getting ready to start our kickoff for Proposition 50. So any questions or concerns? Okay, thank you very much.
Excellent,
Don, I
thank
can't hear
you.
you.
Don't see any hands in the chat, so appreciate the report. Thank you.
Mhm.
Moving on to the chair's report. Most of what I have to talk about will be under the e-board report or the Prop 50 later on. So it's simply for now just say I've been attending a lot of meetings, a lot of trainings this month, getting ready for either 2026 or now the special election. I am pleased to report that after a delay of over a year, the State Party's Rules Committee has officially approved our bylaws for endorsement purposes so that when we make endorsements, they count as the party's endorsement as well. So thanks again to Paula and everyone on the bylaws committee who went through that process of doing them and redoing them again and again and again as the goalposts kept shifting. So thank you for all that. Next up, Northern Vice Chair, anything to report?
Tonight, Don, I'm gonna defer to Carrie, the Southern Vice President. Okay?
Okay. Southern Vice Chair.
I will hold our fundraising update to the fundraising committee, if that is okay with the chair.
Sure.
Thank you.
If that's all you got, then we're good.
Yes.
Thanks. Secretary, anything to add other than what the minutes and what we'll be talking about later on with the
Nope, nothing to add.
Okay. Information and resource officer, anything to report tonight?
Yes, I wanted to show a mock-up of what, sorry, let me share the page. It's not done. I will have it done by Friday, which we haven't gotten into it yet, but we just got off the call for the Prop 50 call, and they want us to get started on stuff by Friday. So I will have this updated by Friday. So I will send out a link to everyone to look at and provide me more feedback before we go live. But this is the unpublished version. So give me 1 second to share the screen. Okay, so the way our website currently looks, the home page has this information that's just from our chair. It looks like this. This is what I am suggesting. So we have like a featured content slider, one that has who we are, get involved, then another one for stay informed. And that will correlate with the more simplified header here at the top. Instead of having a bunch of links, it'll just have a few drop downs where people can just click and go to the page that they are looking for. And then when they scroll down, they can just simply click here to sign up with their information. The other thing that we plan to add, which I don't have the information yet, because like I said, we just got off the call, is to have a pop-up when you come to our page, since our focus between now and November is going to be Prop 50. When they come to our page, a pop-up will appear that will have the image, the official flyer for the Prop 50, and with the link for them to go to that page to get more information and to sign up and whatever. I don't have, like I said, I don't have that yet because we just got off the call. So I need to see what they're going to send around. But that is what I'm proposing, and I'm going to stop sharing. And yeah.
I certainly would say that it's excellent draft web page. It's certainly a lot more dynamic, and yeah, as you know, they don't have the official flyer yet. They probably won't have the template by Friday, so you might need to steal one of the social media template icons to, at least for now. But I like it. And does anyone else have any comments they wish to make? I see a lot of thumbs up and kudos in chat, but does anyone else have anything they want to say?
I think it looks great. I think it's outstanding, and I think it adds some panache to our website, and it directs people accordingly. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And so we look forward to letting it grow and develop and breathe new life and all the things. So thank you again, Amber. Parliamentarian, anything to, oh, sorry, Michelle, before I move on.
I just wanted to say, I think this is an amazing improvement. I imagine Amber's done an incredible amount of work, and I just want to thank her for this. It's really good.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on, parliamentarian, anything to report at this time?
Sorry, I was muted. No, no report.
Okay. Okay, jumping to committee reports. Communications Committee.
All right. So, our meeting for this month will be rescheduled, or it'll wait until next month because we're putting our efforts into Prop 50. And to try, now that we've got the web page, we can start working on the social media cascade domino effect. So that's it, Don. Can't hear
I
you.
appreciate that, and sounds like a good idea. So we look forward to the synergy between the Communications Committee efforts and our tech committee's savvy with the website and social media. And before we move on from talking about that, though, I do want to thank our social media team. I understand that Pat's been putting in a lot of time keeping our Facebook and other social media posts flowing rapidly. So thank you for that. I enjoy being able to like and occasionally share our items. So thank you for your hard work on that as well.
Appreciate that, Don.
All right, moving on. Fundraising Committee, Carrie and or Neil.
Thank you, Chair. Vernil and I met this week, and we are working on a possible late September, early October fundraiser. It would be a garden party at the inn at Benicia Bay. We have a beautiful courtyard that's just mere steps away from the water, and it should be really nice weather that time of year. And Vernil and I would like to call a meeting of the fundraising committee as soon as we get a estimate of a per head Light Appy's caterer. They have a really good chef at this inn, and then it would be a cash bar, and we would sell tickets in advance. So that's what we've come up with so far. A friend of mine is the innkeeper there. I expect the friends and family discount from this place, and hopefully it will be something that would be in our range where we could make a good chunk of money on top of the per head for the appetizers, and sell 50 to 75 tickets. That's our goal. But we would want to do something where we would break even at 40 tickets sold. So that's what we have so far. Vernil, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't, but we understand the urgency in us trying to raise funds for this political season coming. But no, I have nothing to add to your report. Any questions?
I do we have any sort of a ballpark estimate if you need, because if we need to approve money before the next meeting, you know, probably be good for us to do that.
Unfortunately, I asked for the estimate over the weekend, and I haven't received anything yet, but at $20 a head, at let's say 45 tickets. Communications, not math. Give me a sec, I can give you a ballpark.
Is that 900?
But this is all guesstimates, though.
It's a huge guesstimate, but it would be 900 or below, and then it would either be 4:30 on September 27th or October 4th. We're going for a Saturday or Sunday at like 4:30 to 6:30, because Don said that he wanted it in the later part of the day. So I would ask for a deposit for this event up to 900. I'm not expecting it to be that much, but just in case. And then that way we can get a check written by our treasurer and reserve the space.
Is there a motion to that effect?
If that's Carrie's motion, I'll second it. This is Paula.
Okay, so I'll take that motion a second to approve up to $900 for deposit for the fundraiser. Any discussion on that? Not seeing any hands in chat.
I have just a question.
Sure.
Okay, so when they were speaking about hors d'oeuvres, so this would be kind of just hors d'oeuvres and drinks and promotion. Is that right?
Yes, it would be passed around hors d'oeuvres. They have a really, Kathy says in the chat, their food is really good there. They have a kind of a well-known chef. And then it would be a cash bar of beer and wine. And then we'd like to nail this down as soon as possible so we can work with Dawn on getting an an elected speaker.
Mhm.
So, does that answer your question, Karen?
Yeah, and then also the price point of the contribution, you were thinking what
For a ticket,
mhm.
uh, $45 per ticket. So we would double what we're paying for it.
Thank you, Carrie.
Kathy, I see your hand.
Yeah, I've just got a question about the cash bar. So would that be, we'd be paying them cash or we would have the bar?
Well,
We'd be making money off of it.
yeah, I'm not sure that they would allow us to do the bar, but I can definitely, I'm still in negotiations.
Okay.
But frankly, I would much rather them take care of the bar because you know that I've been running bars for quite a few of our fundraisers, and it's a lot of work.
I would suggest maybe if we can see what it would add, just have like water or something available for us as part of our ticket. Something real simple, and then anyone who wants sodas or
Yeah, right.
beer or wine can use the bar.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
that sounds like an idea. And so, are there other questions?
I would just say that I hope that they would provide just tap water. That should be no problem, right? Just,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't think we have to bring in extra water. I think they would not charge us for glasses of tap water.
No, they would not.
Okay. Any other questions?
One other question is, do we know the capacity of this venue in terms of people?
Yeah, 75 in the courtyard there.
75.
Well, let's get on it.
All right. If there are no questions, do we have a poll ready to launch? All right. Well, again, the motion is to approve up to $900 for the fundraiser. So please vote.
Already come up.
All right. And thank you. So stay tuned and watch your emails for the information about that garden party fundraiser. And please buy plenty of tickets, whether or not you plan to attend. So
Thank
we appreciate, and I want to thank our fundraising chairs for pulling together this event, and we look forward to seeing it all happen. I know last year's fall event was very nice. I'm sure this one will be as well. All right, Legislation Committee, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did send a report, but it was pretty late, but it should be in your email. Just want to refresh people to the legislative session. This Friday is the last day for bills to come out of fiscal committee, out of the appropriations committees. So that will tell us which of our bills are going to move forward. Last day to hear bills or vote bills through on the floor of the legislature is September 12th. And then the governor has until October 12th to either sign or veto bills. So just so folks know the timeline. The bills that we were going to consider are the bills that the California Democratic Party endorsed this past weekend, which are the ACA 8, SB 280, and AB 604. So there's no need for us to vote on them because since the parties endorsed them, I believe we just automatically are endorsing them. And then we didn't have any new bills for consideration. The items for discussion tonight are a plan to encourage our legislators to support our endorsed bills, not support the ones we oppose. This would include developing a template and asking our Central Committee members to email and/or call our legislators. That would be Lori Wilson and Christopher Cabaldon, as well as include having a representative of our Central Committee contact our legislators via email or letter. In other words, either Don or I could send just a letter to them saying these are the bills that we support, these are the bills that we don't support. We appreciate a vote in that direction. So anyway, that's where we are now. Any questions or discussion? You're muted, Don, if you're speaking.
I'm not seeing any hands popping up in chat. Now I see Paula's hand.
I think that sounds good, Bonnie. Thank you.
And I'll get a template out probably by early next week, right after Labor Day. And what it'll do is basically all you have to do is call and say, hey, get a pencil. These are the bills that I support and these are the ones I oppose. And the person answering the phone can just write down the bill numbers. You don't have to discuss the bills. Because they just tally the bills. Or you can go to their website, Wilson or Cabaldon's website, and just write them in. There's a thing that says, what are you emailing about? You can say legislation, and then there's a place to put that and just list them out. So it's a pretty straightforward process, and you could do both. I mean, it's pretty easy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'm not seeing any, so thank you, Bonnie, and then we'll just look forward to once we have gone through, finished up the suspense file and know which bills are still live, we can look forward to the floor reports and go from there.
Correct. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, jumping to business. First item I have is approval of liability insurance for 25-26. The state party every year prepares an insurance package to make available to both central committees and chartered clubs. We make use of it as it is a good deal for us. And this year, the liability insurance coverage for central committees would be $725. It would go from well, August 1st to August 1st. So it will carry us through next August. And I would like a motion to approve that. Paula,
So moved.
okay. Is there a second?
A question
Yes,
on that. Okay. So are you talking about the basic coverage of 725? Does that also include, I'm just wondering if that includes rallies and all of the things that we're going to be doing with,
it includes event coverage. Yes.
okay.
You can
So the walk,
request
the canvassing, all of that.
it covers liability for activities. I believe I've sent the information previously. I can't say that I can quote you the specifics of every
Got it.
rider and exclusion, but it's basic liability coverage. It's not for setting up a headquarters. If we do a
Okay.
physical headquarters next year, it costs more.
Okay.
But this is our basic liability coverage.
Okay. So
Supervisor Brown seconds.
So, okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, can we launch a poll to approve the insurance?
Uh, Don, what were the months again? August to August?
Yeah, it's August 1st, well, technically August 1st to July 31st.
Okay.
And for those who might ask, I think they sent us the information like July 29th or something this year. So
yeah, it was at the very last minute. So, okay. All right. 31st, I think it was Thursday, July 31st.
So again, vote early, vote often. Thank you all. Next item I have is executive board report. State Party's executive board met virtually last weekend. Obviously, the main attraction was the party's approval of the Election Rigging Response Act, Proposition 50, whatever you wish to call it. It was endorsed unanimously, as well as all the component bills. And we'll be talking about the special election momentarily. The other items on the agenda that we've been letting you know about back and forth was the approval of three sets of amendments to the state party bylaws. One that will allow voting for the Board of Equalization members to occur by district instead of statewide. Currently, we were able to vote for all four at the convention. Now we'll be just voting for the one that represents us, because the party could do that now that we're voting electronically, so they can geolocate everybody's ballot. The second change was to authorize the party to designate basically vulnerable incumbents as frontline districts for primarily at the congressional level or also at the state legislative level, and put resources into organizing and campaigning in those areas prior to an endorsement vote. The window for that activity will close 90 days before the party makes an endorsement, so the party's not seen as uh, putting a sum on the scale for incumbents, but the idea is to support the Josh Harders and the George Whitesides and the others who are in vulnerable seats, and put resources behind them. Um, then the big change was in the pre-endorsement conference, whereas currently, if a person belongs to more than one club, they were rather arbitrarily assigned to one club for the purpose of calculating the delegates. Each, as you may recall, each club is entitled to one delegate to vote on the pre-endorsement conference for every 20 members. The change now is that if you belong to more than one club, you're basically chopped into pieces. So if I belong to 4 clubs, I count as 1/4 of a member in each of those clubs. And then they will, instead of it being a sharp cutoff at 1 for every 20 members, they'll now be rounding up or rounding down. So once they take all those fractional values into account, if the progressive Dems have 35 and a quarter members, they would round up and get 2 delegates to vote on the pre-endorsement conference and so forth.
So they're rounding up to the next 5?
It's still going to be by 20. So if once all the calculation is done and everyone's split into their fractions, if you have 30 over 30 and less than 50, you get 2. If you have more than 50, less than 70, you get 3, and so forth. The one floor is that each club has to have 20 names on their roster. And then once the fractional values are taken into account, they must have a minimum of 15 member equivalents to qualify for a delegate. So if you are a club where every 20 members and every single member is also part of another club, you would be out of luck in having a delegate. But for the rest of it, again, it's doing the fractional members. According to the information they presented, about a little over 20% of clubs under this new method will gain a delegate. 3/4 will remain the same. And I think they said something like 10 of the 2,000 or so clubs they tested, something like 10 clubs actually lost a delegate. So very rare that clubs will be harmed by this. Most will remain the same. The other factors of this is everyone, instead of worrying about someone being in your club being assigned to another club at random and not being able to name them as a delegate, every eligible club member can become a delegate for your club if you wish. There will be an electronic screening process, so the first club to name a person as their delegate gets them. And then when the next club goes on, that person will be blocked out. So just kind of making some of the behind the scenes mechanics a little easier for clubs to navigate. And there'll be the final change. Part of the package is that voting will be electronically. We'll get our ballots by email, and the voting period will last a week, starting from 1 hour after the beginning of the pre-endorsement meeting. So the regional directors will have to convene the pre-endorsement meeting. Candidates will be encouraged to attend, and then the ballots will be emailed out, and people will have a week to vote. and turn it back in. Unlike now where the voting ends at the meeting, so the voting will begin at the meeting. So that was the big changes. The other rumored bylaws amendment that was going to restrict the party and local central committees from speaking out on matters of foreign policy was withdrawn. And while nothing has been made official, my understanding is there's no current plans to bring that back, but that's
Great.
not official. That's just what I've been hearing through the grapevine. So that was the big items on the executive board. The other thing I attended was the, in addition to the organizing meeting, which discussed Prop 50 campaign, was the rural caucus, and their discussion was about the impacts of the big ugly bill on rural healthcare, which will be devastating. But that was my perspective. And then I know we had a number of other Central Committee members who attended the e-board. So if any of you wish to give a report, please raise your hand. Bonnie?
Yeah, hi. I attended the legislative committee, which was interesting, and also the resolutions committee, as well as a handful of caucuses. I attended the Women's Caucus, the Progressive Caucus, and the LGBTQ Caucus. I do want to give a big shout out to caucuses. You can join a caucus even if you're not an e-board member, or even if you're not a delegate, if you're just a good Democrat and good standing, and it does help support those groups. I think I belong to like at least half a dozen, and they don't necessarily pertain to me personally, but just to show support. So I would, and your you can, and the environmental caucus is another one. Let's see, anything else? I think that was really all I wanted to mention, but I just want to give a shout out to and encourage people to join those caucuses. Thanks.
Don, I'm not sure if you called on
I
me or
keep
not.
muting myself, yes.
Okay.
Lynette, sorry.
Muted myself. Okay. Hi, Lynette Henley, and I'm on the Credentials Committee, and I've become the one of the many vice chairs that are on that committee. Don, you gave a very comprehensive report for the executive committee. We got the work done really, for me, considering very quickly. And the dates for the next e-board, it's in Monterey. It will be in person. And I want to say it's October. It's October.
October 23rd through the 26th.
Thank you. I was guessing, but yeah. And because it's close, this is an opportunity to get a proxy and to attend. So that's it for me.
And for those of you who like to try to do public transit, Amtrak goes to Salinas. Although in practical terms, it would probably be a combination of train and bus. And then you can look for some way to get from Salinas to Monterey. Or you can drive. Google says it's about 3 hours. So, Karen.
Hi, I was actually able to join the Rural Caucus. I'm on the standing committee, and the Rural Caucus had loads of things to say and wanted to actually reach out to um, Solano County and some of the things that are happening with us. For instance, the Delta Conveyance Project, the shipbuilding, all of those things were of interest to them. And I also, on the standing committee, basically the whole thing was about Prop 50. And then, of course, I also was on the call for the Black Caucus, and they were actually discussing some of the events that will be happening that they're trying to put together. So that's about it.
All right, thank you. Carrie.
Thank you, Chair. I I have a question regarding the new accounting of clubs and splitting of memberships. Do we think an unintended consequence of this would be um, people joining less clubs? Like I join most of our clubs annually, but I want to ensure that the progressive Dems have the numbers that they need. So, I was about to pay annual dues for United and Northern Solano and all of that, and I don't. I want to make sure that my vote is, my membership is concentrated.
Yeah. The question was raised in during the debate over this, in both in the Rules Committee and also in other discussions. The official response is no, it will not. It'd be very rare, but I think that in practical terms, that may be a question, particularly if you belong to a smaller club that would be on the cusp of that, and so you might consider tactically whether you wish to join all the clubs or just participate in one. In theory, it should not affect it, but we all know that there's that marginal area where it could. Um, I Odds are no. One option I would say is that if you really wanted to, you could probably informally reach out to your clubs and say, please don't list your secondary clubs and ask them not to list you when it comes time, if you choose. But, you know, the math says it won't affect it, but you've got to make your own call on that one, how comfortable you are with the math on that. I think Miguel's hand was first.
Muted. It does give a very strong impression that our vote, our presence, is diluted by belonging to more than one club, and I'm not sure that that's the case, and you've explained that it may and will not be, but it feels that way. And as you all know, the LGBT club was headed by Tom Bilbo, is essentially trying to be absorbed possibly into our club or other clubs. And I don't know how that's going to work. We may have to say that that club no longer exists, so that if they join a membership into another club, they're fully members of those clubs, and that vote would count all in one place. It wouldn't be diminished. It really brings up that concern to me. It really, I think we need more clarification on that, because a lot of us join several of the clubs because we want to be supportive. We want to be supportive of all these different clubs, but it's really a little disconcerting to hear that might not be the right thing to do. I know, just my 2 cents. See if we get more information. Thank you.
Yeah, again, as presented, the threshold is 20 names, just like we require for chartering a club to begin with. And once the math is done, 15 fractional values, member equivalents to get that first delegate. And then from then on, it's being rounded up or down. But, I certainly appreciate the concern, whether or not the math necessarily bears it out. There's a difference between math and your sort of gut instinct. So I'm certainly not going to dismiss your concern. The party doesn't think it's going to be a significant issue, is the best I can say on that. Lynette.
It's hard. I'm doing this on my phone, so it's always hard to get off of mute. Not the only, but what I see the benefit of this fractional representation from having to, as a former regional director, is that it now allows the party doesn't decide which club gets to have you as a delegate. They would just arbitrarily say, okay, well, Northern Dems needs, Lynette to be a delegate, even though she's in progressives and, CDC. And we kind of didn't have a big say in it. So that's the plus in it. And it also, for me, I felt like, okay, they're actually acknowledging my participation in these other clubs. So it works both ways, but I like that it's no longer the arbitrary decision of the party of where I get to be a delegate. So that's it.
Thank you. Kathy?
I guess my question is, if you have joined as a member, can you just ask a club not to turn your name in? Or, I mean, because that's a solution. Otherwise, you could just give a donation and say, I'm donating, but I'm not being a member. Um, I do think some of the impacts of this are a little bit, 'cause I was really worried initially, but because they're also rounding. So if you don't quite, like PDB has probably around 80 members, actually more, but I was like, oh, what if we don't get quite to 80? But now if we had 70, we're still going to get that extra vote. So because they're rounding it up, I think that also um, takes into consideration the fractional shares.
Yeah. Bonnie?
Yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had said that this actually might benefit, some of the smaller clubs, and you're still represented, but your representation is just split up, which for me seems okay, but other people might have a different opinion. But for me, it seems perfectly fine.
Yeah. I mean, I can only say as a uh, club treasurer myself, I would certainly honor anybody's request uh, in that regard. And I think many officers would for clubs if you said, please don't include me on your roster for delegate purposes. But, again, up to each individual. Paula?
Interesting, I had a couple of people ask not to be listed. One of them was in Greece in the 70s, and she just simply did not want her name on a list of Democrats under this administration. I had a couple of people who asked not to. It never occurred to me to not honor that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. Well, I think, uh, again, if people have concerns, we can certainly we'll continue to work through them as the process unfolds. But that do you want to jump to the meat of our meeting? Next item I put on the agenda is endorsement of Proposition 50. As was said, the state party has already endorsed this, so we are sort of obliged to follow the party anyway. But I did want to place on the agenda if the membership wishes to make its own endorsement of this, that we can, affirm our support of Proposition 50 um, as we go forward. Because we have done that with some other state party resolutions and endorsements in the past. So there is a motion to endorse. I would.
I'll move to endorse it.
Okay. Is there a second?
Supervisor Brown seconds, or whomever, I don't care, but I think it's great if we can make it unanimous.
Yep.
Can you repeat the language?
The motion is to endorse Proposition 50. A yes on Proposition 50. Again, encourage everyone to vote. Right. And
Through the chair, I move that we record it unanimously and make sure that we advertise it that way.
the vote was unanimous, so certainly we will be posting it as a unanimous vote on all appropriate social media and elsewhere. So thank you all for that. Okay. Now, planning for this special election, I will say to a certain extent, this is, as I've described it to some people, we're still in the, almost building the plane while we're flying it. But a lot of the information has been gelled together within the last couple of weeks. So let me hit the high points here. It is a coalition effort. The governor's campaign team, the state party, obviously, California Labor Federation, SEIU, CTA, and many other community organizations. I believe I saw Planned Parenthood was listed as a sponsor, coming together to work on this, passing this. The five main talking points they're hitting are this Proposition 50 levels the playing field. It offers up a commitment to fair redistricting in its language. It gives voters the power to decide whether or not to adopt new maps, unlike the Republican states. It is a fair and proportional response, and it is temporary. It only lasts until after the 2030 census. So those are the main talking points. What the party is organizing right now is primarily phone canvas in terms of voter contact, or phone canvassing and phone banking and canvassing operations. My understanding is that the governor's campaign, so his website is offering text banking operations for those who wish to do that. The phoning bank phone bank operations will be up and running as of September 6th. They will be offering 2 shifts a day for 6 days. Looks like they are skipping Fridays. Of the 12 shifts, 2 will be in Spanish. Sunday from 12 to 2, and then Thursday evening 6 to 8. The other 10 shifts are in English. So there'll be basically afternoon and evening shifts available the other days. Well, Saturday is a morning and an afternoon shift, and Sunday is a early morning and early afternoon, late afternoon. But the weekdays are afternoons and evening shifts. It is a statewide centralized effort. You will be signing up through Mobilize, and I see that Bridget dropped a link in chat, and then there'll be trainings available online through Zoom. So, and according to what they said again tonight, is everybody's supposed to be using that same tool. Those who are doing general contacts. My understanding is that labor will be doing some labor to labor calling on their own that's separate, but for the general calling, all of the partners will be using the same Mobilize and Zoom link. a special, they also said that if there are other languages that there's a sufficient demand for, they will look at setting up phone banks for other languages as well. Did encourage that for the Spanish speaking, that time slots, those who take those ships are in fact fluent in Spanish, since they'll be targeting people who are either have taken a Spanish ballot or identified as likely Spanish users. The canvassing operations will be kicking off September 13th. And they're asking people to sign up for shifts every weekend and asking us to commit to shifts every weekend. They're offering three options. One is as an organization, host your own. Two, join to somebody else's. And third, set up a walk, your neighborhood walk through PDI on the go. If we're hosting our own canvassing, or presumably joining others, we can get the target list of PDI, training guides, scripts, FAQs, and walk pieces. There will be training on how to use PDI on September 4th and September 10th for those who wish to be Canvas organizers, and train the trainer trainings on September 9th and 11th. They will ask you to follow up and sign up on those. The targeting universe, they weren't entirely sure what the target universe looks like. Their best guess is mid to low propensity Democrats and potentially high propensity that is frequently voting a decline to states if necessary. Taking a rough look at universes, assuming an occasional screen of occasional to frequent Democrats in decline to states in Solano, I came up with about 68,500 houses. If looking at a primarily Dem screen of occasional voters, I came up with a total list of about 45,900 houses. And those are just very rough estimates. They're as I said, they're still fine tuning their own screening. They will be providing us a target universe for that. Last cycle, we asked for about a little more than 23,000 walk pieces, as I recall. And we just about got those all out. Over the course of the full campaign was multiple candidates walking and operating. So it's going to be a challenge. They are asking for us to provide a count of how many walk pieces we want to request. And they need that request submitted by Friday because they're going to place the order with the printers. I want to throw it up to the group because to get your feedback on what you think the capacity is. I would want to plus up what we order to have some for people who want to do walking in their neighborhood or walking during the week, because that's not part of their general schematic. But I do think we need to plan for walking and working with our partners to do walking throughout Solano County. I would like for us to try for every weekend to have walks going, whether they are big walks, staging out of a central location or multiple local walks. Was Benicia taking a cluster and Vacaville taking a cluster and whatnot and hitting some houses. So that's broadly speaking where we're at. It is, they're cutting the turf. Potentially, they're designing the target universe. They're providing the statewide phone bank universe and script. So they're doing a lot of that prep work. They don't, but we need to figure out what capacity we think we can do and place those orders. Obviously, this is one of those that we'll be asking every club to step up and participate, and each of you to step up and participate and get your partner organizations to the extent that you can nudge them. So, Paula.
So if we ordered 23 last time, I would suggest that we order 10. And if we run through those 10, what she said in that thing tonight was that they're going to have another flyer coming out in October. So we can always get more. That would be my suggestion.
Okay. Karen.
When I took a look at the form and I tried to fill the form out, the last page indicated the item you were requesting, whether it was the walk piece or whatever, and then it had an amount on there. So, and then it had a total for the amount. So these pieces are going to be paid for by CADM, correct or incorrect?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, either CADM or the campaign, or not us, is the more relevant question.
Not us, yeah.
So,
Don, and you said how many did we do the last cycle? And that was over a longer period of time, right?
well, it was roughly the same period of time, assuming that they mean what they say about getting the pieces to us by the 13th. It's about the same bit of time, but by the same token, we had, all of our endorsed candidates were out walking their own areas and doing efforts. So we had, plenty of direct and indirect volunteers with that effort. We had people walking for school board candidates and council candidates and everything, as well as Harris Waltz. So whereas this is just one thing, and while everyone should be united behind, it may be trickier to get a friend of a friend to come out if they're not personally invested in a particular candidate. So does anyone else have any thoughts on this? I personally would like to commit us to try for every weekend and see if we can get, even if it's a small walk in some areas, or we end up partnering. But for now, I'd like to look at aiming for that, but take feedback from the members. So anyone's thoughts?
Well, I think we can also post up on Mobilize, know that people are interested. I was thinking that we would just try with PDB to organize a couple of weekends, see if we can get members, although I'm always disappointed that not as many people volunteer as I would like. But
yeah, we certainly, like I said, I would hope that each of our clubs is working to do that, and potentially they're maybe they are cutting out their doing their own part of a walk, even if it's not the headline location for a specific weekend. So certainly open to that discussion about the details. Monica.
I liked the math that Paula did, especially with the understanding as of right now that there'll be another set of walking pieces more in the October area. I know for me, I can look at my schedule and try to do some during the weekday, provided I don't have board meetings that go till 4:30 on Tuesdays. but we'll make it happen. I want to know, are there going to be any signs, or are we going to make our own, or how's that going to work out?
The word as of tonight is that the party is not planning on doing lawn signs. The party is not,
Okay,
as of tonight, looking at mail.
That's
But the official Prop 50 campaign may be looking at signs, or there may be other parties doing lawn signs. And it is anticipated that the campaign will be doing mail, assuming they can raise the money, which I would think should not be overly challenging to
yeah.
do. So, Tiffany,
I know, well,
sorry,
okay, I just think there should be signs, but that's just me.
no, I'm not running the party or the
I
campaign.
understand.
Tiffany,
Yeah, I think the weekends or trying to get some walk groups are um appropriate. I just not worry, but I would just like to know what, as you stated before, the what the universe is actually looking like, where our target areas are, and where we need to kind of concentrate our efforts as a club. And would appreciate just maybe something preliminary for right now. If we could get those numbers, I think that would be helpful for us to look at. And then, like was stated before, if we could do a lower number this first round, and then if they are going to do a second round of walk pieces, meaning the state party, then we just kind of iron it out there, and figure out where we need to go. But being more data driven, I think, would be helpful, just so we know what we're doing.
Did Don freeze?
I think Don
think so.
froze because I was like, I'm done.
Well, I'll just throw my
Yeah.
question out then. So, we're talking about asking people to help too, which is really important. And so what's the expectation? Is it just a lit drop with this walk piece, or is it a knock and talk?
I went to the meeting too, and so unless there's several other people here that were there, it's a walk and talk.
That certainly is more successful usually, but usually you don't get to talk to too many people, but sometimes it's easier to get people who are just committed to, well, okay, I'll drop this and I don't want to talk, but okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is that they are going to be taking people, they are doing this, walk your neighborhood, which I think everybody's going to be using the PDI app, even if you're doing that. But if you're in the walk your neighborhood and you want to drop things off, you're going to have to print those things off yourself. So I'm hoping, like in Benicia, that we could organize walk your neighborhood, but that we would be able to use the literature that has been provided.
my apologies, everyone. Apparently, my internet had enough of me. And now I would.
Jeanette just asked if this was going to be just a lit drop or walk and talk, and I said it's going to be a walk and talk.
Yeah, I'm sure their goal is for walk and talk for us to try to communicate with people. And piggybacking on the comments of the PDI on the go, I would intend to plus up our estimates to include a chunk of literature for to have available, various clubs. For example, that if someone in Benicia wanted to do PDI on the go, they could come to you or another member of the club and grab 50 or 100 or whatever to do walk their neighborhood as well.
Yeah, that's what I think would be nice.
Bonnie.
Yeah, I must say that I'm pretty disappointed that the party is not going to do mailers.
Yeah.
It's really concerning that, this other part has already gotten way out there. And it's already pretty controversial, the whole issue. So, it kind of feels like we're going to just be doing catch up the whole time. But
Well,
I've got to express that.
I appreciate that. I would say, of course, the flip side of it is that uh, the campaign, as a ballot measure committee, the rules are looser for them and what money they can collect and what money they can spend. So it may also just simply be a matter of practicality and logistics that it makes more sense for the spending on mail to come out of that ballot measure committee and not the party. I can certainly understand that. So,
Yeah, they just need to get on it. That's all.
well,
I wanted to, can I
your
just
lips to Buddha's ears. So, um,
I just want to add to Bonnie's point that I'm sorry, I couldn't raise my hand for some reason. I just wanted to say I was very disappointed too, they're not doing a literature drop because it's kind of a complicated issue and people need to have a very thorough understanding of it. And the only way you could really do that is with some kind of literature. To the other thing about canvassing, when I've done literature drops, and people understand how easy it is and how much you can drop. We were able to generate at least 20 people doing literature drops in Benicia during one of our when we were working on a project. And people were doing it massive amounts of literature drops within hours, and we covered almost the whole city. So all I'm saying is that, if we have enough flyers, it could act like sort of a mailer. And people do pick up literature that's left on their doorstep and they look at it. They do pick it up if it's in their fence, by the mailbox, and read it, because they know it's from some local person. So I don't think we should just limit ourselves to just doing a canvas. I think if we did a big literature drop, we would do the same kind of thing, getting the message out there as if we did a mailer. That's just my point.
Michelle.
So I think one of the things they talked about at the meetings were not that informative in a certain way. I think that people are really working hard at Cadem to try to get this organized in a really short period of time because ballots are dropping soon. And what they did say sort of at the very end, which I'd like to hear a lot more about, is the other things that Cadem is going to be doing. So part of the things that they want to be doing are like radio ads. They mentioned that. I don't remember the other things, but so they
I
said no
think TV ads
flyers.
too.
What?
I think he said TV, or she said TV ads too, but
Really? Yeah. So, I mean, radio ads are really important in the Hispanic community. So I would like to hear more about what their plan is. But I think for me, it was difficult to put it all in kind of a framework because they just presented what they wanted us to do, which is canvassing and phone banking, not the big picture, right? So I think more stuff is going on, but I think there are also gaps that people immediately recognized. No flyers, no this, no that. So I agree with Pat that that we need to, if we're going to canvass, we also need to do literature drops. And I've been talking wherever I go in English and Spanish, not to politically active people, just regular people, and I interact with them and I ask them, do you know about Prop 50? No one knows about it. It's astounding, really. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's my experience. I'm talking plumbers, I'm talking about waitresses at the restaurant who are from Mexico or, Latinos, things like that. I'm just saying that if we're going to identify gaps, if we're talking about messaging, if we're talking about effective messaging, we need to identify those gaps, right? And they are huge. And I don't think the Democratic Party, from what I've heard so far, that they've necessarily had the time or the knowledge, frankly, especially with the Latino community, to understand what they're dealing with, you know? So I think it would be helpful if we do try, I know we don't have a lot of time, but if there's a discussion about what would be the most effective way to actually bridge that gap for us with the time and limited resources we have, and if it's possible. We've got a website now, we can do social media. That's not going to quite cut it with these people that, they're out in the community and they don't read our Facebook page or they don't go to the website. So I mean, I'm kind of at a loss myself. You know, that's I think this is new territory, but I'd like to know what people think.
Miguel.
To the Latino community, am I muted? No. To the Latino community, radio is more important than it is to the Anglo community. Radio is our bulletin board. That's how we find out what's going on. Radio is not cheap to broadcast on radio and whatever and try to reach as many people as you can. It's not cheap, but it is our bulletin board. It's the best way to get a hold of the Latino community. Too many of the Latinos that are here now, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I mean it in a reality way, are not documented. They live here, they've been here 30 years, they've got businesses, they have employees, and not documented. They don't listen as closely to what's going on politically as they should. And they don't understand that connection. It's not unique to the Latino community. Young people generally, but trying to get them to vote is not easy. And most of these people have children that are 18 or over, born here, citizens who could vote and don't. Mina struggle with this. Other Latinos here struggle with this. It's an ongoing thing. We're trying to do some things that are kind of interesting. I'll tell you more about that maybe at another meeting. But I couldn't agree more with Michelle. What Michelle brought up, and radio is important. It's our bulletin board. My 2 cents.
Appreciate that. Again, I want to say, reiterate a few points. So one, I don't think Prop 50 probably didn't have its name as of a week ago. So, to a certain extent, I think we have to allow for the fact that they literally made it within the last couple of days, and the press is. I've not seen any headlines saying Prop 50. They've been saying, California Redistricting Act or redistricting tit for tat. And unless you go down into the weeds, 5 or 6 paragraphs into the story, you probably are not going to see Prop 50. So we have to, for now, I would say just take a deep breath and hope that our messaging works. And the media needing to go to radio, needing to do TV, needing to do even billboards and mail, all very valid points. Again, I think to trying to be charitable to tonight's presenters, I think tonight was focused on this is what we're asking the local parties to do, is to provide the manpower or the staffing, if you prefer, for us to do the phoning and the canvassing work to generate the bodies to do that work. I think, there are other portions of it are hopefully, and I take all the Michelle's point is valid, and I think everyone's point is valid. Hopefully that they are in fact getting their ducks in a row to do radio and TV and internet advertising and all that other stuff. They were trying to sell us on phoning and walking. Kathy.
Yeah, I was going to say they are going to be running a lot of Spanish phone banks. So that was something that they really did emphasize, and that there would be radio ads. But yeah, I agree with Don. I think that, the focus of this was what we're asking local people to do, which is to get out and canvass. Maybe I think they talked about house parties too, and phone banking. But I think that it might be worthwhile ordering additional literature. So areas that we weren't able to canvass towards the end, we could do just lit drops, because of course you can do lit drops way, way faster. But I think that they really wanted people to talk to people because they're going to be getting a lot of stuff on the other side. And if you've got a person there, they can answer questions. And I think that's what they really wanted to make sure that there was an interchange and that people were able to explain in a little more depth what was going on and to answer questions about if people have them. And then those people can answer questions of their other friends and neighbors and stuff if it comes up. But I don't think it's a bad idea to maybe order extra to be able to do lit drops for areas we don't canvass.
I think, and I will ask, follow up on and asking about numbers in just a minute, but Michelle, I see your hand is up again.
Yeah, so I think all that input is good. I think Miguel is absolutely right about radio. And I'm just saying, and Kathy about the literature drops. I'm just saying we need to just optimize, knowing those gaps, whatever we have to do stuff, right? I mean, I don't like doing that kind of thing. I'm going to do it. We have to organize ourselves. The great thing about this vote is that it's majority, right? It's not, it doesn't matter where we get the votes. We just got to get the votes. And it's not guaranteed. If you look at just really quickly, this is, I think, what we're up against. Iowa, they just won a state Senate seat there, the Democrats, for the first time in whatever, right? However, on the same date, we just lost an assembly seat in Riverside County. And you have to ask yourself, why in California, when we had more Democrats in that district than they did in a red district in Iowa, we lost and they won? You know, we need to start asking those questions. And it's the demographics. It's about the demographics. Because in Riverside County, the majority group is Latinos. And, you know, sorry, but the California Democratic Party has not gotten their act together with that. Now, we're not probably going to get it. This will be a step, an important stepping stone. Yay. That's really good. I'm just saying, let's optimize and bring in our ideas and get some energy into it. And the three things they talked about with canvassing, this is new to me, so is on a group level, like the central committee, which we're doing, and also on, as Kathy mentioned, like your neighborhood level. So we can get involved in different ways. This is Greek to me. Can someone repeat when the training dates were for this? Because I think that's important. I don't know how other people feel. Maybe you guys are all really good canvassers and you're like, oh yeah, of course we're going to do this. But for me, it's sort of something new. So I'm interested in how people on the central committee feel about this and if how involved they're going to get.
The planning on using PDI is the 4th and the 10th, times to be announced, or at least I didn't catch the times. And then the train the trainer sessions are the 9th and the 11th. But there will be, for those who are hosting canvassings, each host will be included in their materials will be a training guide on canvassing. So that materials will be sent out.
Can you throw those in chat? I'm really bad at dates. That would be helpful. Thank you for all those dates.
Yeah. So while I'm typing this, circling back to the earlier question, we are asked to submit a request for literature by Friday. I've heard different numbers, 10,000, 15,000, 12,000. Get an idea on that from people, a suggestion. And then the second half of that question is, do we want them all to be English, Spanish bilingual, or do we want a portion to be English only? I'd like to get your feedback on that as well. So if anyone has any thoughts on that, just share.
Well, I think in Benicia, they can be in English only. And, oh, yeah, that's a good idea, Don. Yeah. I was going to put the training dates in the minutes also, but I need to hear them again. Or if you can send out an email, then I can stick them in there.
While Dawn's typing, do other people want to talk about their involvement and what they think about this? People who
Well,
haven't.
Michelle, you know I'm a huge fan of canvassing.
I know, but there's 26 people at this meeting, and
Yeah, no one else
most
is
of them
there.
haven't. I know, and thank God you are, Kathy. But I mean, I want to get a feel like, are people behind this, or or are they going to go talk to their clubs, or what do people think?
I have some safety concerns with canvassing, especially in certain parts of this county. And I would like to, I don't mind canvassing, but I would like to know what the safety precautions would be if we decide to do that, or if our clubs decide to do that. How we can make sure that we're safe doing it.
Well, for sure, go with more than one person.
Tiffany, what areas are you thinking about?
I'm really concerned about Vacaville, um, Dixon, and even certain parts of Rio Vista. Um, you know, just from what I can tell and see. So just making sure that there's a plan in place. Of course, you wouldn't be going with one person, but wanting to make sure that there's a plan in place. Um, and there's a protocol with that and moving forward. No one-offs.
Right. Dawn, can we suggest that that be included in the training? Or, as I say, this is new to me, but I think if people are concerned, we need to address those things.
I think that that is the kind of thing that would probably be addressed. I mean, um, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in here, but
Well, I think
I,
Dawn froze again, so.
I cannot speak to what, obviously they haven't provided it to us. I cannot speak to what's in their training guide. But as a rule, most competent uh, Canvas organizers are going to be providing guidance on those issues and working with the speaker, the walkers to put them in places where they feel safe and working to develop that sense of comfort. We certainly don't want to have someone walking in an area where they don't feel safe. We certainly don't want that to be an issue. We want to um, provide necessary check-ins and contacts and work through those processes for those who have those concerns because they're um, in some cases may be valid, uh, and we don't want to discount anyone's anxiety about those issues. See a number of hands up, so I'm going to go left or right on my screen. Miguel.
Yeah, 21, a couple things. When it comes to canvassing, we're talking about walking around. I was having a conversation with Michelle the other day. Latinos in Vallejo, oddly enough, they're not concentrated in any one place. There's no barrio. Latinos are all over the place. Nina Diaz got elected out of Glen Cove by Asians, not by Hispanics. That's one thing. The biggest bang for the buck, in my view, in Spanish, trying to reach the Spanish community, is radio. There's no question about that.
yeah.
When Bob Sampine was running and I was on his committee, we thought about literature. I don't think most are going to get literature, whether it's in Spanish or English, or turn it over and it's in Spanish and read it. I'm not sure that's the way it's going to go down. I think it's going to be radio. But in terms of canvassing for the Latino community, that additional complication is we're not concentrated. We're all over the place. And that's a good thing. I mean, we're everywhere. We're not in a barrio. We're not in a ghetto. Anyway, my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, Jeanette.
I just wanted to say that one concern I have is, there's more and more gated communities now. So then that restricts you. So that has to be another way besides just doing the canvassing this way. So the other question, since Tiffany mentioned Vacaville, so we will have targeted list, right? I mean, or on the phone. So it's like likely voters and usually likely Democratic voters. So it we're not like knocking on a Republican's door that's gonna
Right.
be upset. Is that correct?
Everything that they've indicated is that it is targeting Democrats, probably again low to mid propensity Democrats, occasional voters, and they may target high propensity decline to states. I don't see any plan, and quite frankly, it would make no sense to bother reaching out to Republican households on this.
And the other thing right now is there are so many Ring doorbells and so many like do not disturbs or no soliciting. So often if you go out, if you talk to really 5% of the people who you knock on the door, that's a pretty high number. So uh, um, I've walked in Vacaville quite a bit and I'm not fearful, but we don't go to people who we think wouldn't welcome a Democratic flyer, I think. So,
Yeah. Karen, you're next.
Okay. I was gonna say for Rio Vista, we've canvassed in Rio Vista before and really haven't had a problem. And as Jeanette said, most of the people that well, all of them actually on the PDI are Democrats. So we have been welcome in most of those cases. Now, there's not really too many bad spots in Rio. But for some of the areas that we would be unsure of, and particularly if we were going to look at some of the other neighborhoods, there are several gated neighborhoods here in Rio Vista. So we may not be talking to those folks. We may end up doing a literature drop in some cases. We can't put mail in their mailbox, obviously. But a lot of times, if we go out in the AM very early in the morning, we'll find people either coming out of their garage or in their yards or something of that nature. So we try to do daylight walkarounds as early as possible. And then for our Latino portion of Rio Vista, we're really big around the Catholic Church. So we do a lot of, we would do canvassing in that particular neighborhood. So, I mean, there's still a lot to be learned about that. And certainly don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable doing it. But so far, we haven't had any problems. Thanks.
Gian?
Yes, I echo Tiffany's concern, and I think there should be some kind of contingency plan put in place so that people do feel safe, whether it's going in groups or whatever it is. But I don't think we just need to. I think we really need to take the concerns that are expressed seriously, especially in this climate.
Again, I certainly agree that the concerns need to be taken seriously. As was said, in theory, the targeting will be to houses we assume will be friendly. And I would not ask anyone to walk in an area that they do not feel comfortable walking in, whether it's safety concerns or simple unfamiliarity with the neighborhood. You know, I think your best use of your time is for you to be walking in your own cities, your own areas, and working in those parts where you know it well, and you don't need to be coached on which house to avoid, and which person you know is a friendly person despite what the registration may say. I think you know, I would much rather you do that, and then say, oh, we want you to drive up to Dixon and walk, when you have no idea about the neighborhood. So that said, we will look at, when we get materials, we'll look at what their training is on safety issues. We can certainly, those of us who got the background and experience on these issues, can add our own thoughts if we feel that the safety concerns are not enough there and not being properly addressed. Because again, I don't want anyone doing something that's not safe. Just because we pay for liability insurance doesn't mean we need to use it. Kathy?
Yeah, I was going to say that I'm hopeful that all these things will be addressed in the train the trainers, when they're training the people who are going to be training the other people to go out and canvas. But I think that the one thing that's really sort of cool is this walk your own neighborhood idea. And as long as I mean, part of the training is going to be in how to use PDI, which is the canvassing app. So, I mean, if we divide the county up and we're working with people in our own neighborhoods, and then you say, okay, I'm comfortable walking my neighborhood, then we should be able, I'm assuming, to assign that neighborhood. And then with PDI, you're always going to know what houses have been canvassed. So you're not going to be canvassing over somebody else, because you instantly record if someone's home, if you've canvassed it, what their response was. So you can see where people are going. So I'm hopeful that with the combination of PDI and being able to sign, if we're doing a canvas in Vallejo, then whoever's dividing up the territory there can assign people their own neighborhoods, which is probably where most people are going to feel safest. But a lot of people do feel much more comfortable canvassing in pairs. In every canvas I've ever worked in, that's always been an option for people to increase their comfort level. Also, not canvassing at night. But I think they're really aiming for weekend canvases.
Tiffany.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate something. And this is exactly why the Democratic Party is in the situation that we're in now and why we don't have Kamala Harris as president. We are not taking into consideration other voices. I understand that we're going to target Democratic friendly people, but right now there are people that do not care or do not have a stance on this redistricting. And we need to take that into consideration and figure out what's going to be the next move. It may not be the canvassing, because if you show up to a doorstep of a Democrat that's a high propensity voter, they may not want to have anything to do with this election because of election fatigue. I think that's something that we need to consider and not keep dismissing and glossing over it. That is a real thing. It's a real thing in this county. It's a real thing throughout this state. There are going to be Democrats that do not want to do this right now and are hesitant for various reasons that have been stated before. I just want to put that out there and put that on the record.
Appreciate that. Bonnie?
Yeah, I really wanted to move the agenda, but I do agree with what Tiffany's saying. This is really not a straightforward issue. There's a lot of controversy around it. I certainly support it, but not everyone does. And particularly with all these mailers going out, people are already going to have formed some sort of opinion that might not be in alignment with ours. So we've got to move fast on this. And I mean, canvassing, it's a great idea, but man, that you're talking about a lot of time to get this going. Thanks.
I'm sure we have no other hands up. I mean, I think I would just again express for most of us who have done canvassing in the past, I'll just remind that it is universally a best practice to send people out in teams. I would only send someone out by themselves if they were an experienced person and they felt comfortable walking by themselves. And certainly do not expect anyone to be walking after dark or even once it gets dusk. You want to be walking when it's bright. You want, when you're safe and all that. So we certainly, those macro levels of concern should be addressed in our planning regardless. And then beyond that, we work with individuals to help find those locations. I think I'll remind everyone that effective canvassing is the most effective way to turn out votes. If you have that conversation with people, it is far more effective than a lit drop or mail or TV ads. It is time consuming. There's no doubt about it. So that's why one of the reasons they want us to do the canvassing and have the conversations door to door is it is the most effective way to reach voters. That said, we can only do what we can do, what we can get our volunteers to sign up to do, and what we're committing to do. So I'm going to circle back based on the conversations, estimate of how many pieces you want me to place an order for, and how many of those you want to be bilingual versus English only. Michelle.
Yeah, so I just want to say two things we've talked about. One, Tiffany and Gian, if I just think people, if they don't feel comfortable, don't do it. Pick an area you feel comfortable with. I just think that should be a given. And also, Alex just posted something about You know, the Latino community isn't really, that Prop 50, I think, I'm not reading it right now, is important, but there are other issues. And I think that that's actually a really important messaging opportunity. And I would appreciate it if people from the Latino community would write down a few of those things, you know, points, because Prop 50 is going to affect the Latin community more than any other community. You know, so we need to identify and be able to say to people who aren't aware of it, you know, I mean, it could, you know, two or three things that really will affect them. They may seem obvious, but I would appreciate hearing it from you guys.
Um, I'm going to throw out a number, 12,000 pieces, and 4,000 of which being bilingual. What is it? What are people's opinions? Yes, no, higher, lower, different mix?
Why don't you do 13, just in case at the end, if we can't canvas, we might just do lit drops.
Okay. 13,000. Anybody object to that number?
Is that in English, Don?
That's the next half of my question. How many do you want to be bilingual? How much do you want English only?
What would be the downside of having all of them bilingual?
I know of no downside. Myself, I would just as soon order all of them being bilingual. But I'm willing to hear from people, other people's opinions. Bonnie?
I just have a question about how that would affect the document itself. I mean, I would say at least half bilingual, but I'm not sure if it changes the size or I don't know because I haven't seen any of the documents. You probably haven't seen them either.
I have not seen, but based on past practice with pieces that the party has created, if they're bilingual, it's typically one side English, the other side Spanish. And if it's English only, they throw more pictures on it on the other side. So that doesn't, most of the time that I've seen, they don't substantively change the content if they're adding a second language. Miguel?
Yeah, and I worked on the Bepsom Pine campaign, and this issue came up about bilingual, whatever. It costs more to have it done in both languages, of course, in the best of all possible worlds. I love to see it all be bilingual. But we decided not to do it at the time because it didn't seem the biggest bang for the buck. We decided to put the money into radio some other ways, but not that, again, money not being an object or whatever, great. I'd love to do it, but it was a consideration, the bang for the buck. That's it. I say that.
Again, well, we're not paying for these, they're coming from the party, so we
I
can,
know, but
if we
still.
wish to ask for all 13,000 to be bilingual, they can be. Karen?
I just think that it being bilingual gives us a little bit more versatility and the ability to use every single document.
Okay.
My
I was just going to mention, shouldn't we do a number similar to the door hangers that we hand out? Because we're going to try to reach these Democrats, whether through canvassing or literature drops. So that's my thought. It should be what the door hangers amounts are.
If people think we can get 25,000 out, I'm willing to hear it, but you know, as I said earlier, that was with a lot more people being pre-mobilized. And to be candid, what I've been hearing tonight is a lot of hesitation. So I'm willing to entertain a number, but I would like a number because we've been on this topic for nearly an hour. So, Bridget.
I would just second with Pat at ordering the same number. These aren't customized with local candidates or anything. So if we wind up having extra, we can share them with adjoining counties.
That's true.
But we're going to be able to order more in October. They're going to do a second flyer.
Yeah.
Paul,
So
are
I
you
move that
positive
we
she said
order,
that was?
I move that we order 13,000, all of them bilingual.
A second, Miguel.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Let me take a quick look. I'm seeing no hands, so do we have a poll for that? And if so, can we launch the poll? Oh, well, not signs, literature, but okay.
Sorry, I already had that one ready. Let me get it.
Okay.
I'll jump in here. That's a lot of lit that needs, when it comes in, there needs to be a place to store it. I just remember, Margie's garage being full of stuff. So I don't know who has the capacity to do that right now, or where they're going to be sent. It's a consideration.
Hopefully we can spread them across the county.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm going to have them come to me, and I'm going to pray that I can get the South County people to get up here and grab them.
And you can probably do that.
Because I'm also praying that they're not as bulky as the door hangers. All right.
Oh,
We changed the.
I think I got a second one. Should I, is,
Please, yeah,
Yeah.
please vote on the second one.
the first one had a typo, so she fixed it.
I think it still said signs, but that's okay.
It said walk literature, something like that.
Maybe I
The
saw
actual
something
question
different.
is correct. It's just the name of the poll that's
Right.
just there.
Gotcha.
All right.
But you're a rock star, Amber.
Yes.
Don, may I mention something while we're waiting on the poll? About the Labor Day breakfast for the,
Yes. We should be almost done, but yes.
yeah, for the Labor Council, we did approve a congressional level of sponsorship last meeting, and I know that I've bought a ticket. I'm not, for from the sponsorship so that we can kind of cover part of it. But I think that there are other tickets available, so I just want to make sure that number one, we pay our congressional level, and number two is that if there are tickets still available, that people maybe donate to have one of those tickets.
Sorry, I don't know if
Go ahead.
what we actually agreed on was assembly level,
Oh,
$500.
right, assembly. I'm sorry, you're right.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I
And
apologize.
also, I do have actual websites for that available, and I can send them out where our membership can actually donate to that specific Labor Day breakfast, and that way we can have a counting of the dollars that will be donated.
Karen,
There's
there's a,
tickets left.
yeah, go ahead.
To
Pardon me.
answer the question in chat. But I'm sure Karen can drop that link for you.
Yeah, I'll drop it in just a second.
So looks like we had approval, so that order has gone out. The next two items I had on the agenda are sort of can be commingled if we need to discuss. One was an authorization for the e-board to approve election-related spending if something comes up, for us to set a pre-authorize a budget for us if something comes up before our next meeting, and then authorization for a sign order. The thought would be to have some variety of yes on 50 lawn sign or window sign. So first on the budget, does anyone wish to speak to that or offer up an amount? I don't anticipate us needing much because the list being provided for us, and we are hooking into the statewide phoning and texting operations for those who wish to. But if we want to have like food or drinks for canvassers, or if we wish to have incidental printing done, we may probably would have to have a budget for that. So, people's thoughts?
You thinking like $1,000, Don?
I would be very surprised that we went that high unless part of that was printing, getting orders for things like lawn signs or something like that. Paula,
I was going to suggest 500.
I think that's probably a more reasonable number, just, setting aside
And it would take a
ordering swag of our
majority
own.
of the e-board up to $500.
Okay, it's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Carrie.
Okay. So, any discussion? Motion and second to approve a budget of up to 500 for necessary expenses related to the election. Okay, not seeing any hands up. And then as the voting is going on to that, the next item was authorization for sign order. I think it was Paula who had found one example of a potential lawn or window sign, and there may be others. And as we've heard right now, there's no indication. The party's not planning on printing any signs. There may be some coming out of the campaign, but we don't know when or how much. So if people want signs now, and if they want us to produce some, we should discuss that.
Well, we can certainly use them as a fundraiser. I don't actually remember the amounts from last time, but I would be and that's something people keep asking us about is yard signs. I would be in favor of ordering 500, or not 500 of them, 100 of them.
Yeah, I would agree with Paul. They were a good fundraiser last time, and it's really minimal work.
Yep, we can sell them for twice what they cost us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we hope we can find some that are half of what we charge.
And I don't know whether or not someone is producing them on the cheap, as we were able to find a pretty good deal on the Harris signs last year. So I don't know about that, but we can certainly look to see what we can find if people want to do that. I thought I saw a hand up.
It was me.
There you are, Michelle.
Yeah. I just wonder why 100, Paula, and if people think it's a good idea, maybe we should do more.
Well, 100 was an amount that I thought we could take care of
In terms of
in
pain.
terms of getting them passed out there. And if we, if we do it and it works, we can always order more. I mean, the turnaround time was only, but again, that was because of Harris Walls. We were
Yeah.
getting kind of a special deal. Still, it would be doable.
What about window signs? Are they cheaper, Paula?
I'm sure.
I'm just trying to think of, ways to get the message out, if we're uh, again optimizing, and we could do them in Spanish too.
Good point.
Miguel, what do you think about that? Alex, what do you think? Anyone?
Window signs? About window signs?
Window signs or yard signs in
Yard signs, absolutely big time. Window signs, not so much. So many would not be really visible, as readily visible as a yard sign. Yard signs, big time, yes.
in the Spanish community, in the Latino community.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Bridget?
Just to clarify, we're talking about Prop 50 signs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only topic on the agenda right now.
No, I know, but if we're selling them, I'm just not sure how much people are going to pay for a prop sign versus a Harris sign. So, I don't know if we want to be cautious on, what we're planning on selling them for. I would prefer to get them out there rather than make a lot of money on them since it's not a, presidential campaign sign.
Agreed, Bridget.
Thank you.
Well, maybe this is a discussion for the next meeting. It's getting really late, and I don't have enough of the details down to make
Yeah.
an intelligible motion. So,
Well, I think the next meeting it's going to be too late. I think we want to start getting these out right away if we're going to do it. But we could start smaller and, just see
Is
what.
there a motion on the floor?
not
Okay,
yet.
I make an motion that we get 50 yard signs. And not for profit, but to give out. I have no idea how much they cost, but I want to move the
Second.
agenda.
Okay, this is Gianna second.
Okay, so 50 signs. Is there a maximum budget that people want to set on that?
How much are they, Dawn? Do you know?
Depends entirely. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if the campaign is selling them, they're going to be charging max price. Whereas if we designed our own, we might be able to get them for $8 to $10 a sign, depending on. Although at 50, probably more than that. Amber.
I'm sorry, if we're talking countywide and we're just giving them away, we're not selling them, 50 is not enough. You're going to go through 50 in 5 seconds. Because when you think about it, if we're going to do a small, even 100, it's a small number. So we need to be very strategic about where we're placing them, like placing them in very high profile arterial areas. And you're going to go through 100, definitely through 50 very quickly, since we're talking about the entire county.
Point of clarification, are we talking about putting them on like we would do a campaign sign, not just for a yard, but like on well seen areas?
The initial discussion was to do them for sale, which, because I think candidly, I think given the state of our budget and the fact that we also have a primary and a general that we are concerned about, um, spending money to give away lawn signs on a countywide level may not be the most practical use of our budget. Jack.
Thank you, Don. I think if we have a limited amount of signs, the 2 cents I would add, is I think it's most beneficial to try to give them out to whether it's central committee members or club members or people who are politically involved. Since my fear is that if we have such a small amount and we put it in a public place, it would get stolen. Because if we had like 1,000 signs, yeah, I would definitely, or even like 200, I would definitely think that. But I think that if we are doing a small amount like 50, I think the priority should be individual households. Thank you.
Bridget.
I would also suggest if we're going to try and make money, maybe we could get the clubs to each, allocate to buy a few, 10 per club or something like that. That might be one way to recoup some of the money for the central committee. And then also the option of, I don't know if we looked at it, but what slightly bigger signs would cost to put it, interchanges like Amber said. Something that would be more visible.
Yikes.
I mean, that's what I would think would be the most useful thing. But I do like Amber's idea about the billboard, but I have no idea how much a billboard would cost. No one can steal that.
You'd be surprised.
Well, they can paint it for sure. They could vandalize it.
No, they can steal this billboard sign. Only if you're talking about the highway signs. If we're talking a 4x8 sign, we're probably talking 52. At the limited numbers, we're talking probably $50 or more a sign. I don't know. I haven't priced them for a while, but they're expensive. And again, we are what? Total balance is 12,000 something. We've already committed 725 for our insurance. We've committed 900 for the fall fundraiser. We've committed a budget of 500. Now, unless we have a practical plan for buying cheap signs and reselling them, I really.
Well, I'm gonna amend my motion and just say, can we table this until our next meeting? Because I think that if we got signs at the end of September, that would be fine, and then we can see how much the party is selling them for. Because $500 for 50 signs is a lot of money, in my opinion. That's a lot to spend.
Michelle.
I know people are really tired. It can't wait a month. Can we set
I
up
can't
a
wait, I can't wait a month.
Can we set up some sort of subcommittee or group? People can talk about this, and if maybe we could set aside some money tonight if we come up with an idea that people feel like is worth spending it on. But I think it needs to be talked about fairly soon, but maybe not tonight.
Okay.
If we're going to do it, I think the billboard's a good idea too.
Okay, I'm sorry, was there I believe
There was
Bonnie
a
made
second on the motion to buy 50-yard signs for Prop.
There was a second?
Yes, me.
Okay.
To give away.
Is the pricing I'm seeing is the one person who's selling Prop 50 signs already is charging 26 bucks a sign.
You know, I just found one that's a little cheaper, but the thing is, there's going to be more people coming out with them, and they're going to be different prices, I think. So, because they just got the number like 2 days ago.
So, does anyone want to set a maximum, propose a maximum figure?
What are we doing with the motion already on the floor?
Well, the motion has no, I understand the motion on the floor simply said 50 signs without a price point attached to it.
Mhm.
Do you think 500 is too low? I mean, I think 500, if we're doing 50 signs, $10 a sign, $500, at least to begin with, but everyone seemed to think that wasn't enough, but I still think that would be where I would go
Okay,
with it.
well,
Well,
you're the maker of the
I'm-
motion, so if the seconder agrees, we'll put a limit
well,
of
I'm not,
500 on it.
I do agree.
Okay, so
Yes.
the maximum price point is 500, or the maximum total is 500.
So the
For
motion is now to spend up to $500.
for 50 lawn signs.
So is it possible to just identify, say that we're willing to spend $500? What about if we printed yard sign or printed window signs and put them on our old yard signs? It'd be so cheap.
You're looking at, I don't know, I can't guess what the cost would be at this point. 24 by 18 is, I don't know what the cost would be. It's close to 10. So my
yeah, it
apologies.
is.
Yeah.
Well,
But
oh,
the motion on the floor is up to $500 for 50 signs. Any discussion?
We've had a lot of discussion. I called the question.
No.
I think that there's, as you mentioned down there's, we haven't even had our fall fundraiser yet, and so that is significant. I think it would, um, we have approved the $900. We approved the $750. That's $1,600. So another 500, 2,200 dollars. I just think we should be concerned about where we leave our treasury and the ability to raise money to replenish what we have had and even take it further. So, I mean, those are my thoughts.
Uh, Personally, I agree, but it is the membership's choice. So without further hands being up, do we have a poll ready? Let's go ahead and launch the poll. Okay. All those vote. Wish to vote, please get your votes in. Looks like um, motion passes. So if we determine a place to create those signs, we will move forward with ordering up to 50 signs. All right, folks, that's everything. Does anyone have any announcements?
Yeah, I have two quick ones, hopefully. I put them in the chat. There is going to be a legal observer training in Fairfield on Tuesday the 2nd, and I put the link in the chat, and that's for folks who want to be trained on how to watch out for ice. That's number one. Number two is there's going to be a press conference. There's a developer who wants to collect concentrated carbon dioxide from the refineries in Contra Costa and in the dirty power plants and pipe it to southern Solano County and then dump it into the land adjacent to the Sassoon Marsh. And we are going to have a press conference about this in front of the county building on September 9th. As well as we will, hopefully, some of us will go to the Board of Supervisors meeting to speak in opposition to this project and kind of to educate some of the folks around here. But I just want to invite folks, anyone who's interested, to please join us. Thank you.
Okay, any other announcements? If you can make it, please attend the Labor Day breakfast. Stand by for all of the various links and information related to phoning and canvassing for Prop 50. Get your clubs to do what your clubs can do, your labor unions, your civic groups, et cetera, ad infinitum. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All those opposed, get out. And